What's up, everybody? Gilbert Blaze is back. Now it's time to answer all of your questions. And wow, I got so many questions. So this is probably going to be like a 2 or 3-parter to this video because I got over like 100 questions. So I'm going to try my best to answer each and every one of your questions. Now, quickly, I will say, Night of Champions was last night, and I don't know if I'm going to do a review of that because I thought it was such a horrible pay-per-view. I'm so utterly pissed off with what happened with Triple H and Cena. But I'll give my thoughts more about that later on. So let's get right to the questions. First question from RKO Kid 89. He writes, why Philadelphia is better than New York City? Yeah, right. Just joking. What are your favorite wrestlers, present and past? Okay, well, I grew up watching wrestling in the late 80s, so all those guys from the late 80s from my childhood is what stood out for me. Randy Savage, my all-time favorite wrestler, Ricky Steamboat, Rick Martel, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Ravishing Rick Rude, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jake the Snake Roberts. I love those guys. I grew up with them. Even Ultimate Warrior, which people hate, I grew up watching him. He was one of my childhood idols. So I grew up watching them, and they always stuck with me, and they made me a wrestling fan in general. Now, wrestlers from today, I'm really big on Kofi Kingston. I think he has a lot of talent. Jericho, I've always been a big Jericho fan. Shawn Michaels, of course, I've been watching Shawn Michaels for a long time. Undertaker, obviously, yes. I honestly like guys that I like. I like a lot of jobbers, guys like Mick Carter's that don't get a lot of, chances. I'm really big on Matt Striker. I think he has a lot of potential, mic-wise, wrestling-wise. They give him a chance on Raw. I hope he does get a chance on Raw. Brian Kendrick, Paul London, they're really great. Let's go out of WWE for a minute. You can talk about, Samoa Joe, really high on him. I've always been a big fan of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Those guys, it seems like now they're starting to win matches in TNA now, so hopefully there won't be jobbers anymore. You got a lot of guys from all over the place, from the indie scene, from Japan, that are really, really good. And it's what's making this business thriving big time right now. So thanks for your question, RKO Kid. Next question. Chicano Artist wants to know, what are some of the worst wrestling gimmicks you have ever seen? Good question. There's been a ton of wrestling gimmicks over the years that I've hated, starting with Manatar. I don't know if anyone remembers him back in the mid-90s. Horrible, horrible gimmick. I'm a huge fan of Tuco Scorpio, but when he came to WWF, they gave him a Flash Funk gimmick, which just didn't suit him at all. That gimmick didn't go well. I felt really bad for him. You had guys like Doink the Clown. Now Doink as a heel when he first came was great. Heel character, great, but then when they turned him face, that gimmick just went to shit. And I was so pissed off when Doink turned face. You got guys like the Shockmaster, who was like Tugboat, and then he became Typhoon, and then he was like Shockmaster. It was so horrible in WCW. It was a horrible, horrible gimmick. The Yeti, another horrible WCW gimmick. I mean, you had like so many. I was wanting to throw up. Like, the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor. I felt so bad for him. How can you go over as pretending to be a rooster? How can that gimmick go over? It was so horrible, and there's a whole list I can name, but yeah, those are just some of them that really turned my stomach. Thanks for the question, Chicano Artist. Next question from XXIV5XX. He wants to know, do you think John Cena should go back to his Word Life gimmick? I think John Cena should turn heel. That's what I want to see John Cena do. Now, if he were to go back to his Word Life gimmick as a heel, then yeah, I would want to see that because it would freshen up his character. He needs to have a new character change. He's been on this same character now for a few years now, but WWE won't let John Cena turn heel because he's too much of a fan for the kids and the women, and he sells them a lot of money. But if WWE is smart, they would turn him heel. But I just don't see that happening. But yeah, I would like to see John Cena go back to his Word Life gimmick because it was good. When he was a heel, his raps were really, really fresh. It was interesting. I actually liked him when he was a heel better than how he is a face. Thanks for the question. Alright, Skippy2K8 asks me a trivia question. Who was Undertaker's first manager? Ted DiBiase brought in the Undertaker for Survivor Series, And then after that, Brother Love took over, and then as we all know, Paul Bearer took over. So there goes your question right there. Thanks a lot. All right, another question from a non-wrestling question here. SF Calvin AZ wants to know, you'll get enough wrestling questions, so allow me to divide. Describe your ideal partner and relationship. Thanks. I wonder why you're asking me this, Calvin, huh? So, my ideal partner would be a guy that is funny because humor is very, very big for me. A guy that's patient because I can be really moody. I have my mood swings. A guy that, that can be very masculine and, not masculine, but yeah, he knows how to be soft at heart as well. He's not like a total asshole that doesn't know how to express himself. And, like so many guys tend to like not want to show their feelings and stuff like that. But, a guy that's funny, has a great personality, that, that's not an introvert. I like a guy that's very outgoing, someone that can hold up a conversation, that's intelligent, but not intelligent enough where they think they're a know-it-all. I want a guy that's just reasonable, and he has to know how to cook because I can't cook for shit. So yeah, a guy that knows how to cook is also a big plus because food gets to my heart. So yeah, I like older men as well, so I'm not really big on guys my age or younger than me. So that is a big key as well. A mature man that knows what he wants as well is a big plus for me. So yeah, that could be that's my ideal, partner in a sense. But I'm very picky when it comes to guys, and which is why I'm single right now, because I'm so picky. But thanks for the question, Calvin. All right, my buddy Palm Trees 101 wants to know, what do I think of boxing? Now, I was a boxing fan back in the 90s. Back in the, Mike Tyson era, I was a boxing fan. But I wasn't like a big boxing fan. I was a casual boxing fan. I think the sport of boxing has gone downhill so completely over the past 10 years. Boxing in general to me is just boring. I just don't see the fun of it. Most of it is corrupt, I feel like. Don King, he's a great genius, but he's also a crook, in my opinion. I mean, the sport of boxing has just gone down the hill. There's not that many stars in boxing. You got Oscar De La Hoya, you got Felix Trinidad, Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather Jr. But, none of those guys are really people like that you want to like really see all the time. Boxing in general has just, the sport just dipped. It's hard to explain what happened to it, but I guess it had a lot of scandals. People think some of the matches are fixed. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. But yeah, boxing as a whole, I just can't watch it no more. It's just uninteresting. Even when Lennox Lewis was like the world heavyweight champion, he had such a boring personality that I couldn't go behind him and be like, oh yeah, Lennox Lewis is fighting. When he was on the Celebrity Apprentice, he showed more personality there than he showed in his whole entire boxing career. So yeah, that's what I think about boxing, Palm Trees. Thanks for the question. Ms. Cena 0902 wants to know, if you had an opportunity to face one wrestler, who would you choose? Easy question there. I would choose my childhood idol, my childhood idol, the Macho Man Randy Savage. I adore Randy Savage. I grew up watching Randy Savage. He is my childhood idol, and to be in the ring with Randy Savage would have been a dream come true. Savage in general is a control freak, and he used to outline all of his matches, which is why Ultimate Warrior has some of the best matches of his career against him. Savage and me would have just hooked up and had some phenomenal match. It would have been awesome. It would have been brawling. It would have been technical wrestling. It would have been high flying. We would have went all over the place. It would have been a great match. I would have just been honored to be in the ring with Randy Savage. Thanks for the question, Ms. Cena.